You know, this is our 11th year now of Winning is Everything, and I think each year it just keeps getting better and better. It's at the Bellagio this year. We've expanded it from a day and a half to 2.5 days, January 16th to the 18th. And for me, and more important for the attendees, it's the only conference I know of where there's quality networking time with other thought leaders of similar size firms. You know, we attract pretty much the top 500 firms in the country, and in any given year there's somewhere between 200 and 300 managing partners, leading partners, leaders of departments from these firms getting together to talk with their peers about what's happening in the profession. I think there's also a real positive energy. I think the worst 3, 4, 5 years we've ever had are now behind us. Firms are projecting in 2012 increases in growth, profitability, and I just think there's a big buzz about those kinds of things. I also would tell you that it's a great mix between general sessions, those in the industry, those outside the industry, as well as real hands-on concurrent sessions where you can talk with your peers about issues very specific to your practice. So some of the headliners for this year's conference, Jim Turley, the chairman and CEO of Ernst & Young, and he'll be talking about leadership in the 21st century, and who better than to talk from one of the largest global firms in the world. And I know with our managing partners, CEOs, and members of the C-suite, they're going to love this opportunity. We also have Sam Allred, a leading consultant in the profession, talking about common traits of highly successful firms. And Sam is just a real dynamic presenter, and I know that the audience will enjoy him. Additionally, we're very fortunate this year to have Sir Ken Robinson, who's going to be with us talking about change and the dynamics that go on with change in organizations. We also have every year our CEO panel, which I chair, and it's one of my favorite sessions. We'll have Ken Hughes from the mega regional firm Dixon Hughes Goodman. We'll have Bill Hageman, the famous Bill Hageman, who's got one of the most famous accounting videos in the world of Witham, and Richard Berkowitz of Berkowitz Dick Pollock Brandt out of Miami Beach, Florida, talking about lessons learned as CEOs of leaders of their firm. That's a great session. In addition to myself as part of the advisory board, we've also got Gary Shamus, Gary Boomer, Rebecca Ryan, and we'll also have participation from Sandra Wiley and Jim Boomer as well. We've got a host of wonderful breakout sessions. One of my favorites is the M&A session. With the merger frenzy going on in our profession today, we'll have one session devoted just to buyers, and we'll have another session devoted just to sellers. So just a couple other things to wrap up about the conference. One is, this is the year going beyond the borders. The world is flat. Matter of fact, we're going to be simulcast into some 35 different countries this year, which is really going to be exciting. We've also got from CCH, Scott Cruchat talking about global tax ecosystem, and there'll be a whole different perspective this year in terms of the reach of the conference. Second, and maybe more important, as great as these speakers are and as great as the content is, again, I would just talk about the ability to network and share best practices. I find that when I ask people, what do you really like about the conference, they rave about the keynotes and all those kind of things, but the real takeaway is the ability to talk to a half dozen other firms about a very specific issue and hear how they've dealt with it, and then bring that advice back to the firm, help them to make what oftentimes is a real difficult decision, something of a strategic nature. And lastly, just because it's such a fun part, every year we induct a member into our Hall of Fame, and this year we are so fortunate to have Jim Metzler as our next Hall of Fame inductee. Jim has done so much for the AICPA in terms of really, I think, bridging the gap which once existed between the Institute and local and regional firms. And he's really created a platform of best practices and value-added things that I think has made many, many firms raving fans of the Institute. So what better way than to honor Jim by inducting him into our Hall of Fame. Hope to see you at the conference, January 16th, Bellagio Hotel, Las Vegas.